Alright, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Starcraft 2 replay cast. Today it's a 1 vs 1 on Ulrena between our red Protoss player, AsusWing, and up top we have our blue Terran player, Impure. It is Ulrena. It's a very, very odd map. It's got this little tiny walkway through and very close to each other's base. I think it favors Terran just a little bit, as you can put a command center there, you can put siege tanks here, sort of disrupts your opponent just a little bit, but I suppose to each his own. I'm going to put a supply depot there to block this area off, causes you to have to go all the way around, either that or take away these rocks, or go all the way around, or destroy the supply depot, one of those several options. Usually the right side of the map really doesn't even get used. There are quite a bit of expansions all the way over here, but again, it doesn't really get used. And it usually provides pretty fast games. They usually don't last any longer than 20, 30 minutes, that sort of deal. And we're going to speed this up a little bit to the 2-minute point of the game, approximately. Otherwise, we're just going to be watching buildings warp in, and sometimes that's fun, but not all the time. And Adept coming out for the Protoss player. Fairly quick expansion for both players there. And again, that probe has to go all the way around the long way, which is actually a pretty significant distance, I suppose, rather than just going straight through. Zerg vs. Zerg is rather interesting on this map, as none of them can really block this area off. And so it's basically just Zerglings running up through those small little walkways here to each other's base, and banelings exploding all over the place. You can put baneling mines right here, and then you can wait till your opponent brings over a bunch of Zerglings and then just sort of blow them all up. A supply depot now being hit by the Adept. Going to take a little bit here to take this down, so I think the Terran player is going to have quite a while to prepare for this. And this is definitely a good idea, putting that supply depot there, holding off your opponent for a little while. And with that supply depot there, I would still suggest a little bit of a scout here, too, as you could see your opponent going all the way around, and then you would have definitely a long time to prepare, and you could see that they're all the way over there. And the Adept just blasting away here, and Mothership Core out for the Protoss player so far. About 9 Marines to just 1 Adept and a Mothership Core. So taking his good time here. AsusWing down here, as there is really no rush. And now the bunker getting loaded up here, and unfortunately the bunkers don't work all that well against Adepts, considering they can just psionic transfer, or I like to say sometimes ghost around them, and they can just pretty much ghost right through there and get into the base, as long as these supply depots are down. And now the supply depot will be destroyed here shortly. Won't put him under supply, but he's going to have to build another to make up for that. Actually did put him under supply. And the missile turret here going up. About anything. And a couple gateways hidden all the way back here. Twilight Counts are now researching that resonating glaze for the Adepts. And more gateways coming up here shortly. Even more gateways. Tons of gateways. 2, 4, 6 gateways about to pop up here. For a total of 7. And right now, total units, 18 Marines there, 1 Adept, 1 Mothership Core, but, so the Protoss way behind in terms of units, but not for long, as all of these are now turning into warp gates. Start warping in quite a bit soon here, and now going to take away those pesky, unbuildable blocks. And pumping out quite a bit of reactors here, too. Going to be producing lots of bio here. And I'd like to think this factory is going to switch up and create a bunch of medevacs. Now, Warp Prism moving across the map here, and I'm going to drop 4 Adepts in the base, and then perhaps warp in additional troops as well, as he does have about 7 or 8 of these warp gates here. And that's going to be quite a bit. And now here comes the drops, but there are some Marines over here that are already on this, but unfortunately, these are going to get wiped out here pretty quick. Looks like he didn't notice that drop for a moment. I know there are so many Adepts in the base here, bringing a ton of SCVs over. He just didn't have enough Marines here. And the tides have turned on the Terran, had way more units than the Protoss player, but now Psionic Transfer sends him on over to the expansion here. Looks like he's going to wait for a moment. Takes out the Warp Prism. And now all the Psionic Transfer coming over here. Is he going to do it? Yeah, he does. And unfortunately, he's going to take quite a bit of damage because of that. These Marines going to take him out eventually here. But that was quite a bit of losses. Total units lost here. 2,700 for the Terran. Lost 54 total units to just 15. And only 2,000 lost. So quite a bit of or SCVs rather, lost for the Terran there. So a little bit of income lost. Now only 900 to about 1,200 income. Now only 700. So he's definitely way behind in income now from that push. And AsusWing now taking out any buildings he can here. Going after the command center. And couldn't really transfer into the base there. Supply depot's blocking him, but the orbital command is going to lift up and run away. You're not going to take out the supply depots here. There's another command center over here, but it is very, very vulnerable. And now some stalkers are in the mix, and we'll be able to attack it if it flies away. Should be able to get away, though. And now the Warp Prism going to drop some more adepts in the base here. And Impure is definitely on the back end of this situation. He just doesn't have the income now, as it's about 1,200 to 1,200. It's about even right now, but I'm assuming that is only because of these mules here. He doesn't really have anything this other expansion, and the Protoss player does. So really the only things keeping him afloat right now is those good old mules, which certainly do the trick. And continue to produce SCVs over here, but this is a very vulnerable spot, and I'm assuming that he's just going to end up losing these SCVs pretty quickly here. Protoss now is going to find that expansion, and so all that work producing those SCVs is just going to get lost here, and the orbital command is going to have to lift off, but these stalkers may get it before it gets out of there. But here come the Marines now to defend it, and it looks like it may survive. And a very close battle here with these stalkers, but the medevac's keeping those Marines alive for now. It looks like he was trying to take out one of those medevacs, but didn't quite get it. Siege tank now out in the field for the Terran player here. Be able to guard fairly easily now, and an Immortal, though, on the field for the Protoss. And so now on the back end, Impure here really has to really get together and get it moving. And now all three of these orbital commands just pounding out SCVs as fast as he can here, and dropping tons of mules as well. It doesn't have too much energy. It's pretty much using it all as it comes here. 50 energy on this one, 50 on that one, so 2 more mules can be created right now. And there they go. And tons of adepts for the Protoss right now. 16 adepts, 2 Immortals, 23 Marines, 2 Marauders, a couple tanks for the Terran. And once this expansion is fully saturated, I'm assuming he's going to be picking that orbital command up and going to the other one. And now here comes the Protoss once again. AsusWing trying to check for this expansion up here. Not going to notice anything, so he's just going to have to be forced to really go up here. And here comes the Psionic Transfer. Tons of them. So many adepts here. About to warp in all over these Marines. And here it goes, all over the siege tank there. Siege tank does get to fire once, but that was about it. And the Marines just getting eaten up by all these adepts. Going to lift them up and bring them up top here. And once again, all of those SCVs lost. And Warp Prism warping in some adepts up top here. And now the supply depot there is broken down, so able to just pour into the base. The Warp Prism there was destroyed, was warping in a bunch of units, and did not get the opportunity to complete that. Here comes some mules now to continue that income, but still probably way behind, 400 to 1,000, and he's just on the back burner. He just cannot keep up, as the Protoss has such a high advantage on the consistent income. The only reason his income is even remotely even at times is just because of these mules. He's really relying on the mules, which I suppose Terran do a lot. But right now the consistent income of the Protoss is way higher, and he can just continuously produce more units than the Terran and then attack over and over and just continuously destroy these SCVs. Going to make another supply depot here to stall the Protoss for a little bit. He tried, looks like he tried to actually click up here, and his unit started going around the right side, so I think he may know that there is an SCV or a supply depot there. Gonna go landing all over here, gonna pick him up and just bail out of there, and perhaps he's going in the Protoss base over here. And he probably could make it in time, and here comes a Warp Prism now. Warp Prism's thinking about it, and here he goes. He's gonna drop in the expansion now, and all those adepts appear again on those SCVs. And all those adepts actually getting pretty wrecked up there, but still the damage is done at the expansion once again. Now all the minerals back at the main are pretty much mined out. And there goes an extra supply there. And now the Nexus being created here for the second expansion for the Protoss, and it is destroyed, canceled rather. And now the Terran pushing back, and nothing but adepts here, and they're probably going to take these Marines out perhaps. And they do. Forces the medevacs out of there for now. And these medevacs stay behind. They're having a good time just floating above all those adepts. And still has that other orbital command here. Could lift that up and bring that over to the other expansion. A little bit oversaturated at this one, bringing all those SCVs from the main. And having a real hard time keeping up with the Protoss at the moment. And now the Terran is a bit higher than the Protoss, as the Protoss's main is all mined out and really only has this expansion, whereas the Terran has all of these minerals still left over, because he's been getting destroyed here at this expansion over and over, so he hasn't really gotten the opportunity to mine this all out yet. And he does, of course, have those mules as well. So now the tables have turned a little bit, and now AsusWing really desperately needs to get this expansion going to get that consistent income back up above Impure's income. And here comes another Marine and Marauder push. And not sure if it's going to be enough. There's an adept chilling out here. And how he didn't see that for a moment there was beyond me, really. And a little bit too much for the Terran to handle right now. Gonna need to bring a little bit more than that. And here come the tanks now. And some Liberators there. Probably gonna put those in defense mode. And it'd be a really good spot to put them somewhere around here. Could just hover them right above the areas there. And now doing that 85 damage. And just so much damage from those defense mode of these Liberators. And covering the whole area here, and siege tanks, such a good double combination. Pylon's been overcharged, but doesn't quite have the range to reach these Marines here. Going to take out a warp gate, and now there is a Dark Templar out in the field. Going to start attacking one of these siege tanks here. Assuming a comsat will come soon there. I always like to call it comsat. I'm, I guess, a bit of a Starcraft 1 fan. And now the Protoss on the back burner here. And not doing too good on the wrong side of the battle at the moment. The income a little bit higher for the Protoss right now, but he's losing too many units too quickly here. And even more Dark Templars out and about. And taking out tons of these units. And no scan yet. And there goes the scan, but I think a little bit too late. Already took out and did the damage. I know the Terran needs to rush these Marines into that expansion line there. Could absolutely devastate all of these probes over here. There's absolutely nothing really defending that over there. Not even any pylons to overcharge. And now these Dark Templars doing a lot of work on the Terran, just taking away his energy and not allowing him to produce mules. So now the Terran's income much lower than the Protoss, as he's using all of his energy on those scans and wins the game. AsusWing in the end had to GG out, had a big advantage for the longest time, but just couldn't really seal the deal. I think if he kept it up a little bit more aggressive than what he was doing, but just really couldn't take the Terran down in the end. And now that the Terran has made it to this expansion line, it was pretty much GG for AsusWing, leaving Impure the winner. Hope you guys enjoyed the replay, and I'll see you guys next time.